Hey, it's Bob from the 12 Days of Content from Lead Pages, and today we're excited to share with you a smart email marketing presentation from Will Hookinga, a former member of the Lead Pages marketing team and founder of CopyGrad. It's 5 emails that will make you number one in your subscribers' inboxes. This training is yours free as part of our 12 Days of Content. It's also included in the archive of marketing mastery and conversion coaching calls available to all members of Lead Pages. Enjoy.
The subject of this call is 5 emails that will make you number one in your subscribers' inboxes and hearts. And really, the goal for this call is I want to give everyone here, whether you're building a personal email list for a blog, whether you have a SaaS company and you're doing content marketing, whatever you're doing to build your email list, I want to show you some ways to improve the results you're getting from both a qualitative standpoint and a quantitative standpoint. And what I mean by that is, from a quantitative standpoint, all the obvious numbers-driven ways. So better open rates, better click rates, sort of the tangible metrics we all think of when we think of ways to improve our email list. But then I also want to speak to just the qualitative ways to improve your email list. So the things that are hard to measure, but you can just tell that the people on your email list really like it and really respond to it and really feel like they have a relationship with you or your company. That's trickier to measure, but from any clients I've worked with over the years, from the results I've seen from my own list, no one argues with the fact that the more people like you and like being on your email list and feel a connection to you, the better all those quantitative numbers do. So that's kind of what I want to speak to here. And real quickly, I'll just briefly introduce myself. So like Jeff said, my name's Will. I've been doing copywriting and content marketing on a freelancing consulting basis since 2010. I publish a blog about all of that stuff at copygrad.com. And Jeff and I are actually old friends because I worked on the marketing team at Lead Pages from 2014 to 2015. And I have proof of our friendship right here. You can see how how thrilled Jeff was to be with me right there. I think this was at the first converted Lead Pages event, which if you're on this call and you have not been to a converted event, I believe there have been 2 now. Is that right, Jeff? Has the second one happened?
Yep.
Yeah.
The next one will be in October.
Yeah. So I missed the second one, and I regret it all the time. So.
Well, everyone's commenting on their matching shirts.
Yeah. We did not coordinate that. I guess it must have just been meant to be. We've always had a really good synergy between us, and hopefully that carries over to this webinar. And my apologies as well to everyone on this call. I'm having to call in from a phone. I was actually just telling Jeff, I got home to do this webinar and discovered I left a burner on my stove on. And so I'm attempting to air out my house. I grabbed my dog, we got in my car in the garage so I can still have Wi-Fi, and I'm calling in from my cell phone. So I'm doing whatever it takes to get this webinar done and to help y'all with your email. So I'm excited to dive in. And one more brief word about me. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. I feel like everyone always shows their kids and children and family on webinars. I don't have kids. I do have a lovely wife named Samantha, and that's my dog Penny, who I just rescued from carbon monoxide poisoning, which would have been my fault. So now that you know a little bit about me, I'm gonna jump right in. And so basically, what you'll get out of this session is how to get high value engagement from your email list. And I'm going to show you 5 specific emails that you can use. And I found that these get great results even if you only have a few hundred subscribers. So regardless where you are with building your list, there's going to be something in here for you. And really what I want to focus on is giving you email templates and ideas that will allow you to set yourself apart from the vast majority of other email lists. I think generally when we talk about email, there's a ton of focus on what to do to get people on your email list, and then there's a ton of focus on how to get them to buy things from you, and there's also lots of focus on how to automate the customer journey through onboarding emails, lifecycle emails, autoresponders, and stuff like that. But I want to focus on emails that will really help you create a relationship and be a little different from everything else that everyone else is doing out there. So like I said, I'm going to go through 5 proven email templates you can use with your list. But the key question I want to start with before we get to the first email is I want you to think about your list, and is there an actual benefit to being on your email list right now? And what I mean by that, put yourself in your subscribers' shoes. And when they signed up for your email list, they probably got a lead magnet or something like that. But since that happened, is there really anything other than notifications about, when you publish something or when you have an offer or like a launch sequence or something like that? Is there really any benefit that your subscribers are getting from being on your email list? In most cases, I've found that the answer is no. And really the only thing that subscribers are getting is the latest blog post, or they're getting content that's stripped out in an autoresponder. They're not really getting anything that someone who isn't on the email list is getting. And so this webinar is about helping you change that, because what I've found with my own email list, with my clients' email lists, and with other marketers that I've talked to, is that when you can really sort of create special value for your subscribers and give them an exclusive experience, some really good things can happen. So yeah, I'm just going to jump into the first email right now. And so the first email is something that I called the unexpected content bomb. And it's basically a content-driven email that's written exclusively for your email list. It doesn't have any links to anything, so you're not trying to drive them to a page or anything. You're not pitching anything, and you never publish that content anywhere else. So this sounds a little weird. It sounds like it might be a waste of time, but the way I sort of stumbled upon this email was I was working on a video to send to my email list about a year ago, and I got sick. I couldn't complete the video, and so I had nothing to send them that week. All of a sudden, I got an email in my inbox that was from United Airlines, of all companies. This was back in 2015, so this was before the current scandal, but I think they were going through some other scandals at the time. And it was written from their CEO, and it was just a really, really, really bad email. It was one of the worst I'd ever seen, and I couldn't get over how bad it was. And so I just kind of quickly put together an email to my list, showing them this email and kind of breaking down what was wrong with it. And I just on a whim, sent it to the entire list, and I really wasn't expecting much to happen. But I'll kind of show you just what the email looked like real quick. So I started it out by just saying, greetings, copywriting friends. I was planning on sending you the first ever copygrad video this week, but my voice gave out, thanks seasonal allergies. Luckily, United Airlines' new CEO just sent out an email full of teachable copywriting moments. And so then after that, I kind of broke down the email. It was over 1,000 words, so it was a fairly lengthy email. And then I signed off by just saying, before you go, I'm curious. What's the worst email you've received lately? Hit reply and tell me about it, or simply forward it to will@copygrad.com. We can point and laugh at it together and stuff. Stay in touch, Will. And so, like I said, I really wasn't expecting much from this. I was trying to publish regularly. I wanted to do something for my subscribers, and so I sent this to them. And I want to jump into my inbox real quick and show you what happened next. So over the next 48 hours, these are all the responses that I got from people on my list. And what I found was, most of these were people just saying thank you for the email. It was nice. It was valuable. But some of these ended up leading to really great results. One of them, a guy named Daniel in Australia, led to a $4,500 freelancing offer, which I actually wasn't able to accept at the time because of my schedule. But I was just shocked to kind of see all of the results that happened from this email that I kind of sent on a whim. And so I took a step back after I wrote that email because I wanted to find out sort of if the results that I got with it could be duplicated, and if there were certain elements of the email that made it successful. And so I kind of want to go through a few of those real quick. So why go to the trouble of sending something to your email list that you are not going to publish anywhere else? So the first thing that I noticed about the responses I got when I did this email was that people will say things to you in an email response that they won't say in a comment section on your blog. So, if I had published this as a blog post and, put it on the blog and then sent an email to my list, with a link to try to drive them to the blog post, instead of trying to cultivate a conversation that remains in the inbox, I probably would have gotten, some nice compliments in the comment section, but I certainly don't think I would have gotten any project offers, any new clients, any interviews booked out of it, because whenever I look at comment sections, I just don't see conversations like that taking place. So it's a way to connect with your subscribers that you can't really duplicate with a blog post. The other reason is that when people reply to your email, it really helps your deliverability and staying out of spam boxes and showing up not in the promotions tab in Gmail. So there's some other benefits as well. The last one is it's just kind of fun. I think we get really uptight with our email list. We feel a lot of pressure to publish great content and to deliver it to them regularly. And I don't know if this is everyone or just me, but I can get a little bit stressed out about what I'm going to send people. And when I do that, the content tends to suffer. So this is really a way to kind of view your subscribers as more than just people who read your stuff as an audience, and really it's just people who you can keep in contact with via email and you can have a conversation with. So, and by the way, if you are wondering sort of how many subscribers you need to have to get, the level of response that I got, I only had, as you can see here, when this email went out back in 2015, I only had 1,100 subscribers at the time. And 100 of those are probably friends and family. So really like 1,000 people who don't personally know me, and I was still able to generate a really impactful response for my business at the time. So like I said, I wanted to kind of dig in and see what was at work in this email, and how could I walk other people through the process of creating this, because the template isn't just wait for United Airlines CEO to send a dumb email so you can do a teardown of it to your list, although they've certainly provided a few more scandals to do now. If you write about customer service or something, now would probably be a great opportunity to use the same subject matter. But really, you can write one of these types of emails about anything. But one of the things that I think helps with response rate and really makes it feel conversational is when you pick a topic that's timely. So if you make it about something that just happened. And I tested this out again, actually, recently. I sent another one of these style emails about a month ago, and I'll quickly show that one as well. So this email was one that I sent after I went to a Tesla dealership and had a really cool kind of customer experience there. But as you can see, I wrote it about something that I had just done. And you can see another high level of response from in here. Someone ended up booking me for a podcast interview out of this. So again, I really saw a lot of high value results from this. But both of those emails really contained a timely element. It's kind of like, if you email a friend of yours, it's usually because something just happened. So I tried to make an event in my life something to trigger the conversation. The next thing, remember that you're writing an email and not a blog post. I actually, one thing that I did with both of these was when I write a blog post, I usually draft it in Google Docs or something like that. I just went straight into MailChimp for this one, which is what I currently use with my email list. And I just wrote up the email draft right there in the editor. and really tried to keep it conversational, to not make it feel like it had sections and things like that, like a blog post would, to not break it up with a ton of sub-headlines and listicle elements and stuff like that. So, try to make it seem like something that belongs in an inbox. The other thing, make it feel exclusive. So an easy way to miss out on an opportunity with this style email is to not make sure that people know they're the only ones receiving this. So when you go to the trouble to do one of these, I always like to mention, and you really don't even have to be subtle about it. You can say, hey, I wanted to send this just to you. You're on my list. No one else is getting this. I'm not publishing it. This is just for you. Include some type of element that lets them know that this is exclusive, and that's a really good way to sort of keep attention and pique interest early on, because most of the time that's not going to be the case in most emails that they're receiving from other marketers. And the last thing is ask for a response. So in the email I sent about United Airlines, at the end I asked people, what's the worst email that you've ever sent? Forward it my way. Or if you're working on an email or whatever, I'd love to talk about it. And I found a lot of people didn't go to the trouble to actually forward me a bad email, but so many people just took that as an open invitation to reply. So those are kind of all of the elements that I would include with that one.
And I just want to interject a couple things here.
Yeah, for sure.
The first thing is I responded to both of those emails. I actually remember that, both of them. And one thing that Will is not really mentioning is the fact that his emails, I know Will, so I obviously kind of know how he talks and everything, and I feel like his emails are just like a personal email that he would send me. And I feel like that's part of why they work so well, at least for me. They feel very personal, and Will's are actually one of the only emails that I actually will read, even though they're longer, because of that fact, because I always like what he presents, and then the way he presents it is very personal, and it's not so stuffy. So I really want to just highlight that. And then also, Will, there's kind of a little bit of a conversation back and forth going on in the Hip Chat room about the length of emails, and
yeah.
I'm wondering, what is your thought on long versus short, where maybe it's a short email that links up to a blog post? Because obviously your emails are a little bit longer. Do you have any? I guess my opinion is that if it's valuable stuff and it's only available there, send it in an email like Will's doing. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Will?
Yeah, for sure. So I first of all, if you're sending out a blog post, my philosophy tends to be that the link to the post needs to be early. Whether the email is longer or shorter, there needs to be a way for people to click through to the blog post, or before they have to scroll. So that might just be kind of including the link in a contextual phrase, and a lot of that will depend on sort of the habits that you've created with your email list. So if people on your email list are used to receiving an email from you every Tuesday containing a link to a new blog post, then you've probably created some established habits. And so if from the beginning you've been sending them longer emails and they like your content, then they're sort of trained to do that. Me personally, if I'm sending a link to a blog post, I like to keep the email shorter. If I am sending an email to someone where it's this type of email where it's just a very content driven, I wouldn't put a limit on how long it can be. Mm-hmm. Again, it's about building the relationship and delivering value. So as long as the email is continuing to deliver value and remains conversational, like you were saying, Jeff, that's something I try hard to do. And I think people, especially if you don't consider yourself a writer, it's easy to get intimidated and think that you can't keep someone's interest over the course of an email that long. But the reality is that we all write personal emails to people, friends, family, things like that. And we all have some sort of default conversational email voice. And the key is to figure out how to tap into that when you're typing one of these emails to your list. And so I'd encourage you to, try to just picture someone you know when you're writing it. I know that's kind of common cliched advice, but I found that that tends to work really well. Also, just pay attention to emails that you get that really keep your interest and really make you want to keep reading. I know someone, a lot of you probably know Brian Harris from Video Fruit. Brian's a friend of mine. He lives in Nashville as well, and his emails, I think I've been on his email list since maybe a few months after he started it. It's been a long time. But he's really, really good at keeping things conversational. And, he's not a super fancy writer guy or anything like that. He has typos in his emails and stuff like that. But they always feel like you're just talking to Brian. So, I'd keep an eye out for emails that pique your interest and just sort of, pay a second look to them, see what about them stuck out to you, and then just, practice with your own list and see how they respond to it, and really take note of if it seems like their attention seems to wane, if the email is too long, or if click rates go down the longer the email is, then take that as a sign.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And then second question on email one, these are just emails to have in your sequence, right? Not just like, this is the first one you should send. I just want to clarify that too.
Correct. Yeah, this isn't like a sequence of 5 emails. This is just 5 different types of one-off emails. You could certainly add an email like this to an automated sequence if you wanted to, because automated sequences are great places to start conversations as well. And one thing that I like to do is to use these unexpected content bomb emails as tests to see if an email is good enough to go into an autoresponder sequence. So like if you send out one of these emails and everyone responds to it, I still like the idea of keeping it exclusive to your email list and not turning around and publishing it on your blog right away. But putting it in autoresponders is still keeping it exclusive to your email list. So it's a great testing ground to figure out what people respond to and what can work well for your autoresponders.
Absolutely. And guys, I think most of you, when you signed up for the marketing mastery sessions, like you've gotten some of my emails, and they're a little longer because I didn't have anywhere I wanted to send you guys necessarily, but I also wanted to just kind of get you used to talking with me. And I'm honestly always surprised at how many replies I get from the second email in the series, which is, are you overwhelmed like me, where I talk about like unsubscribing from all my email lists and stuff. That one like literally gets so many replies, and it's I don't know, one day I just wrote it like I was thinking like, man, I want to share this experience, and I feel like the more personal you can be, the more likely somebody is to actually read through it all, and especially if you're like being personal and providing value. So those are the main points I wanted to just kind of hit on with this email that Will's been talking about. I don't want to bogart the call, and want to keep moving on to email number 2.
No, that's great, man. That's awesome. I'm glad that you shared that. And yeah, so email number 2 is really, a lot of times people don't know what to send for the unexpected content bomb. Email number 2 is kind of in the same vein, but it's different. And the great thing about it is virtually anyone with any type of list can send this email. And it's a free consultation email. And so it's basically, surprise, it's an email where you offer a free consultation. But when I say free consultation, this can be really anything depending on your business. It can be a Skype call. You can be doing an audit of someone's website. It can be an analysis of some type. If you're a product-based business, it can be something where you use your product to help someone. But really, the point of this is not to pitch anyone on the call. It's not to try to sell them coaching services or anything like that. It's really just to deliver value to a small portion of people on your list, and to do that so you can learn about them. So how do you write one of these? So what I've seen is work well is limit the number of calls and set clear expectations of what will happen on the call. The other thing is attach a clear, concrete outcome to the call. So it's easy to just offer a free consultation, But really, you want to sort of specialize in what you're offering. And I'm going to show you an example of one that I've done with my own list right after this. But the third thing, have people apply for it, because this is really the whole reason to do the call. And you can learn really great things about the people on your list, which will give you better ideas of how to connect with them, better ideas for products, things you can do, offers you can create. But really quickly, I want to show you an example. I'm just going to go back into my inbox real quick. I was a little too lazy to make slides based on this, so hopefully I don't show anything too revealing. But so yeah, this was actually right after I returned to freelance work after I'd worked at Lead Pages. So I'd started my email list before I accepted a job at Lead Pages, and while I was at Lead Pages, I kind of just, I think I sent one email to my list during the whole time I was an employee there. And so I'd really kind of let the email list go cold. And so what I decided to do as my first email back is I decided to offer these free copywriting and conversion consultations. And so I want to show you the part of the email that I think kind of contains all of the elements that I was just identifying in the slideshow. So right here, I didn't just say a free consultation. I said, 5 30-minute one-on-one copywriting and conversion consultations. This will be a live Skype call consisting of you, me, and the web page that you think is most important to your business right now. During the call, I'll show you clear, concrete steps you can take to increase your conversion rate, actual copy you can plug in and start using immediately, and a process that I use whenever I want to increase my own or my clients' conversion rates. And so really what you're doing here is you're setting apart the contents of the free consultation call. And I think when people hear free consultation, they just think, okay, I'm going to get on the phone and someone's going to ask me questions about my business, and then they're probably going to try to pitch me on a product or some mastermind group or coaching services or something like that. And so when you really narrow down what will happen on the call and you spell that out for people, and it's there's a clear outcome that they're getting, people get much more interested. And beyond that, this is the part after that I was saying where you can really learn something about your list. So when you have people apply for these, and if you can spell out clearly sort of the benefits people will get for it, you will get a good amount of people applying for these free consultations. So what I did was I just had people answer 3 questions. I wanted them to show me the URL of the page they'd most like to improve, which would be the one we would talk about on the call. I asked them what the key result was they'd like the page to produce, so more opt-ins, more sales, etc. And then I just asked, what's your biggest business struggle right now? And really the first 2 questions are all about identifying the people that you think would be fun to do a call with. So, when people send you the page, you can sort of look and see what business they're in. When they tell you what they're trying to improve, it's a lot easier to come up with actionable steps for them. But the third one is really where you'll get a lot of benefit, whether the person who replies is someone you end up doing the consultation with or not. Because when they tell you sort of what their biggest problem is right now, that's where you can get a ton of ideas for content, for copy on your own site. I actually, after I wrote this, and you can see the responses over here, I ended up totally rewriting the welcome page for CopyGrad, 100% based on the responses that I got to that question. And the conversion rate, I think, increased by around 5% or something like that after that was a couple years ago, but I believe it was somewhere around 5%. So you can get a lot of really good insight into your list from that. So let me get back to the slides here. And ask for a response. Yeah, we talked about that.
Hey, Will, before you move on there, Angelica had a kind of like a comment and or kind of, I guess maybe I'll frame this into a question. She was basically wondering, how do you avoid attracting people that just want something for free by offering this?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think, first of all, when you offer this, it's important to sort of make it be distinct from what you offer on a paid basis. So, this is just what I offered was just a 30-minute call. That's not, anywhere close to the typical kind of consulting services that I offer. It's different. People can tell that from the copy on my website. I also think just looking at when you give yourself an opportunity to sort of preview and select the people you're going to have the call with, you can avoid people that I think have a tire kicker mentality. Like I was able to really learn a lot about people's businesses and sort of separate the people that I thought really had serious businesses from those who probably wouldn't be a great fit for anything else that I had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think giving yourself an opportunity to learn about the people you're doing the calls with before you do them, and also kind of making a distinction between the content of the call and your professional services. Like that's why I would recommend keeping it to something small, like a 30-minute call, not something like a 90-minute session that ends up turning into a lot of email back and forth and you really working on something heavily with them. But I found this approach. I found that the relationships I got out of those calls led to good results. Some of those people have been people I've continued to email with. A few of them have referred clients to me. So to me, it's really about focusing on who are people on my list that I think it would be fun to talk to and that I could build a relationship with. And that's I would, however you structure it, I would give yourself an opportunity to identify those people.
For sure. Awesome stuff.
Cool. Yeah. So I'll move on to email number 3. And this is what I call the coming soon email. And this is something, if you're regularly releasing content to your list, it's something anyone can do. And it's kind of a blend of email number 1, where you're delivering something distinct just to your email list, and something that's conversational and personal. But really what it is, it's something that you write in advance of a major content release. And the sole purpose of this email is to prime people for that upcoming piece of content. And it's short, which is nice because it's easier to create, but it's value driven and it could stand on its own. I think when I first kind of introduced the concept of this email to lots of people, they think it's basically just saying like, hey, watch your inbox next week, which you can do that. If people really look forward to your content, emails like that every now and then will work, but I think these work best when they have some sort of element of valuable content and they can stand on their own. And last but not least, it needs to include sort of a can't miss tease about the upcoming content. And so real quick, I'll show you an example. You've probably gotten an email like this before. It's not super uncommon, but I do think it's hard to find examples of people who do this really well. But one of the examples that I come back to a lot is from Brian Dean of backlinko.com. He did this, he's done this several times, but this is one email that I sort of have saved in my swipe file. And he was about to release sort of a really long, in-depth resource about SEO tools. But before he did that, he sent out an email. It was around 500 words. And the subject line was just, here are 3 cool SEO tools I found last week. And honestly, what he did was he just took 3 tools that were from the upcoming piece of content and built a really quick email around them and just kind of dove right into the value and the content. And then at the end of the email, he had a PS down here that just said, want to find out more about awesome SEO tools like these, including the exact tools that I personally use? Well, I have a guide coming out next week that I think you'll really like. I can't get into too many details right now, but here's a sneak preview. And then he had sort of a blurred out image of the guide. So why go to the trouble of doing one of these emails? So I've done these for clients, and any time that you invest a lot of time in creating like a cornerstone piece of content for your blog or a lead magnet or something like that, if you can find an opportunity to get it on your subscribers' radar before it comes out and to sort of promote it in a way before it comes out, I've found that engagement almost always goes up. And one way I like to think about it is that, if you're releasing a book or something like that, you probably wouldn't just send out an email the day the book was out. You would probably find ways to, drip out some valuable content before the book release. You'd want it to be on people's radar. You'd want them to be pre-ordering it or watching out for the release date and stuff like that. And when it's a product, we're always sort of intuitively aware of that. We've been trained to do that. But when it's just blog content or free content of any type, we're sort of conditioned to just not really think about promoting it in advance. And so an email like this is a really good opportunity to get an upcoming content release on your subscribers' radar. It's also one way to do that is to raise questions in the email that your content is going to answer. So it's a great way to sort of get subscribers' minds in the place where you want them to be the day that they receive your email. And it really forces you to clarify the value proposition of your content before you start promoting it. So it really, if you send an email a week in advance of releasing something, you really have to think about sort of how you're going to position it. You can also test certain angles and see if people respond to it, before you sort of use up your shot on releasing it. And a lot of times you'll get questions from this email. People will respond, letting you know things they hope that the content you're going to release answers. And it's a great way to sort of revisit and make sure that the content is going to answer people's questions and really resonate with people. And beyond that, you get all the benefits from this email that you get from the first email that I showed. People reply to it. Since it's something they know only went to their inbox, it feels exclusive. It feels conversational. So again, if you're struggling to come up with an idea for an unexpected content bomb email, doing a coming soon email is great because I'm sure that most of you on this call are planning to release something in the next month or so. So this is a great opportunity to test that out. And so I want to go a little bit real quickly into just things to make sure when you're writing one of these. And as I said before, do more than just say, watch out for this new thing. If you can, maybe take a small part of the upcoming piece of content and sort of repurpose it into a conversational email. So don't just cut and paste, but really, if you were going to teach a specific aspect from that piece of content, how would you do that in a small space? That's kind of a good prompt to do for an email. And the other thing is, what this allows you to do is, if you put a lot of work into something that's difficult to create, the thing about these emails is they're really easy to create. And so it doesn't, the one from Brian, like I said, was only 500 words. It really kind of previewed the content of the post. So it doesn't take a ton of time to do this. There's not a lot of pressure on you to come up with an idea off the top of your head. You can really keep it in the same scope of thought as the post itself. And the last thing, tease with an image. I've always found that that works well, that it increases engagement. So the blurred out image idea is great, and Brian's not the only person I've seen do that. But sort of a creative visual way that you can tease something, I found always works well. Jeff, anything to add before I move on to the fourth one?
I don't think so. Just, like we've already talked, I guess. So I said I don't think so, and then I was going to add something.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, what was that?
I said go ahead.
Oh, okay. We've hit on it already, but Kathy just made a good point in HipChat. She said, just write as you would speak to someone. It's easy to write then. And I think, it's very easy when you're writing emails to think like, oh, I have to be this copywriter. I don't know, like when I sit down to write emails, like I get into the same space and I'm like, wait a second, this email sucks. Whereas if it's like actually like thinking about like if I was going to write an email, I could, be like, all right, how would I say this if I was writing it to Will? and like
Right.
then I use like the language that I use when I talk, and like you can perfect that a little bit, but it gives you like a really good starting point for just kind of being more casual with your email. So that's all
Yeah.
I wanted to say.
Awesome. No, that can't be reiterated enough. I think that's always good to hear, especially for people who are a little intimidated with writing.
Yeah.
So the fourth email, I'm super excited about this one. This is something that I just recently kind of tested out with a client, and it worked so much better than I thought it would. And I called it side effect email, which is just a so-so name. But really, so I want to start with the problem that this email solves, and one thing that has always frustrated me is anytime I create a new lead magnet for myself, or I work with a client to create a lead magnet, you're almost always doing that to try to get new subscribers, to pull more people into your funnel, to add to your audience, and lead magnets work great for that. But I've always been frustrated in that we just put all this effort into creating a really cool piece of content, but I can't think of a good way, to give this away to my existing subscribers, other than just putting it in an email and sending it to them. And a lot of times people end up just sending their current subscribers to an opt-in page or something like that to get the new lead magnet, which I've never liked the idea of making someone opt in twice to receive something else. So really what I've landed on is something that I think is a really cool way to give your subscribers access to a lead magnet that you've created that they don't have yet, but in a way that creates extra value for yourself. That's one of the hard parts about it, is when you give it away to your audience, a lot of times it's hard to tell like how much of an impact it made. And so what the idea here is, it's to deliver value with the lead magnet and then capitalize on the engagement that you get from your audience from it. So how this works is, if you have something like a new PDF download or something like that, what I do is I write an email to my audience, essentially just like an email you would write to release a blog post, except you're sending them a lead magnet of some type, so a PDF, a video series, or something like that, something cool that you created that you're giving to them for free. So anything you do in a regular email, you would do the same thing here. But the difference is, instead of just sending them a link straight to the PDF, I use an automation link, and I use lead links with lead pages. And so what it does is they click the link, and when they do that, I have the lead link trigger a second email to that subscriber that delivers the lead magnet to them. And instead of just sending them straight to the lead magnet, I send them to a thank you page that has some other type of valuable action that I want them to take on it. And I'll show you the one recently that I did with a client. This was an author who had a book coming out. And we'd already promoted the book to his list a lot, and so we didn't want to just send another email telling them to pre-order the book. But I saw we had this lead magnet that we were going to start promoting on Facebook. And I thought, why not send them this lead magnet? It's new content. I think people on the list would really love it. And when they click this automation link to request, a free copy, we can take them to a thank you page that essentially just says, thanks so much. A copy of the ebook will arrive in your inbox soon. In the meantime, did you know that Andy, who's the author's name, has a new book coming out? And I'll show you the page real quick. This was made in lead pages. And so, like I said, at the top it just says, thanks, you should get an email in the next few minutes with a link to download your free copy of Finding Joy, which was the free ebook. Then it said, in the meantime, did you know Andy has an all-new book coming out March 7th? And there's a little bit about the book and then a call to action to pre-order. So really, we've been working on this book launch for a while, and at this point in the launch, I was just trying to think of as many ways as possible to get this book on everyone's radar who's on the list, without like seeming like we were just shoving it down their throats, because we definitely didn't want to do that. So that was kind of the genesis of the idea for this. And what ended up happening when we did this email that day, it was the only thing we'd done to promote the book recently. And when we did it, a ton of traffic went to our book page. I think it was something like 75% of the people who clicked the automation link and got to that thank you page ended up clicking to go to the book page, which was, which then drove traffic to Amazon. But we generated enough sales from that for the book to go into the top 100 of like all books on Amazon for that day. So it was, I was just really shocked at the amount of engagement that came from that. And really the great thing about this, like I said, is you get subscribers to take action on something without really using up any equity. So, the situation we were in, we didn't want to just send an email every day telling people, to pre-order the book. There's only so many ways you can do that. And so, whatever sort of, everyone has something in their business right now that would be a very high value action to for subscribers to take. It could be attending a webinar of yours. It could be signing up for a free course, that funnels people into an offer of some type. It could be letting them know about coaching services you offer, consulting services you offer. It could be about signing up for early access to a new product. It could be a lot of things. And that's really what I would recommend using this email for, is take something of value that you have, use an automation link to direct it to a thank you page, and whatever you need in your business at that moment, put it on that thank you page, because it's basically a frictionless way to get a promotional opportunity to your list, and you're giving them something of high value, so you're really not using up any equity that you've built with them. And it's a way to get the most out of your lead magnets. Over the years, I've had clients release lead magnets, and the lead magnet does great on social media, converting social subscribers to email list subscribers. It does great with Facebook ads and things like that. But, you send an email to your list, and it's just kind of like, oh, well, I guess they liked it. We had some people click through to it. We got a few responses, but yeah, like I guess we built some equity with our list. But other than that, I'm not sure how much it did. So this is the way to really just get the most possible out of your lead magnets.
Man, that's awesome. I dig that. That is a good tip right there.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed kind of stumbling upon that, and I'm really just continually amazed at how well thank you pages are at getting people to take action. Like I know that strategy in general just gets harped on a lot. I think this approach is a little different, and something I hadn't seen as much in email marketing, but even with webinars and stuff, like I recently, implemented text reminders with a client for webinars on thank you pages, and we were getting like 60% of people to get a text reminder, which, it's just amazing to me, really, what you can achieve with thank you pages. So I'd really encourage you to think of ways to implement those more with your email list. This is kind of one of the first ideas I've had recently, and I'm already searching for other ways to sort of duplicate this in slightly different ways.
That's awesome.
We're coming up on an hour, so the last email type I'll go through quickly, and then we can see if there are any questions.
Just a quick question. When did you become a nut bar?
I think I've always kind of been a bit of a nut bar.
Okay, so backstory for everybody. Will and I like to quote movies, and Wayne's World in particular is one of the fallbacks. So I just had to get that in there somewhere, and it felt like a good spot. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it was a great place to insert Wayne's World, and I'm really glad you did it, because I would have been ashamed of myself if we'd gone this whole call without fitting something in.
Yeah.
Oh, and so real quick, just to wrap up the side effect email. Sometimes people have questions sort of about how to write one. I found it works best when the thank you page action is at least somewhat related to the lead magnet content. So in this case, it might seem like a bit of a stretch that the Authors Do book was that related to the lead magnet, but really, the lead magnet was a free ebook. Both were kind of, had an inspirational kind of self-improvement angle to them. So it was kind of a symbiotic fit there. Also, like I said, lead links work great with this. Everyone on this call, I think, is a Lead Pages customer. So another way to get value out of your Lead Pages account. And if you've never set one up before, there's lovely knowledge-based articles. There's lovely support staff people who would love to help you do that. And it's really easy. Oh, another thing. I haven't exactly tested this yet, but my hypothesis is that the offer on the thank you page will work better if it's something that people going to the page have already kind of heard about. So like I said, we've been emailing about this book release for a while now, and this is just kind of a way to get another touch point in there. So again, just a hypothesis, but something I'll probably test going forward. All right, email number 5. This is called the unopened resend. This is something you may have done before. It's certainly not a groundbreaking strategy, but it's something that for the first probably 5 years or so of doing email marketing, I had never tried this. And I was so surprised by the results when I finally did that I wanted to briefly talk about it here. And because this is the only email out of all of these that involves literally no extra writing work on your part. So this is really easy to do. So basically, this is just resending a high-value email to everyone who didn't open it, and all you change is the subject line. So, for example, if you want to get the most out of your latest blog post that you put a ton of work in, you would send the email, wait at least 48 hours, which I always recommend doing just so you can give everyone who might open it enough time to open it. After that period, go into your email service provider, and most provide a fairly straightforward way to see who all opened it and who didn't. And most have a straightforward way of being able to group the people who did not open it into, to tag them or to make a new list out of them or something like that. And again, that'll vary depending on your email service provider. But then it's just changing the subject line and sending it to everyone who didn't open it. And so like I said, I was really, really surprised when I first did this email strategy. And these are some stats from, this is a client that uses Infusionsoft. So if you're an Infusionsoft user, you'll recognize these wonderfully ugly analytics that we all love to complain about in Infusionsoft. But you can see the results at the top from the first email. 19% of people opened it. It was a little over 9,000 people, 4% click rate, so that was about 1,800 clicks. Then the graph below that is the second one that went out to everyone who did not open the first time. An additional 4,000 people opened it, and an additional 1,300 people clicked on it. And so once I had those, I kind of combined both of them to see, like, cumulatively, how did this email perform? And when you combine these and act as if it was one email, the cumulative open rate for that email was 28%. The cumulative click rate was 6.8%, and the cumulative opt-out rate was not very high. It was still well under 1%, so very low. And I really meant to say well under 0.2%. 1% would be not a good opt-out rate at all. That's just a quick strategy that I would really encourage you to do if you haven't tried it before. I was very skeptical. I didn't feel great about sending the same thing to people on my list twice. But again, that's why, wait 48 to 72 hours, give everyone a chance to open it, then do a new subject line and try it again. And I wouldn't recommend doing this with all your emails. I would wait until you have one that has a particularly important action in it. So, maybe it's a piece of content that you put a lot of work into and that will have a good result if people read it. Maybe it's a sales email. It could be anything. But I would, save this for when you really need to hit a home run, because it can have a big impact.
Yeah.
And because this is Lead Pages Marketing Mastery, I did want to give a quick shout out to Drip. I know Drip makes this super easy. I'm jealous because I don't currently use Drip. I'm evaluating. I'm thinking of switching, and none of my clients use it either. So like I said, my clients use Infusionsoft. I have to click the percentage of people who didn't open, then I have to apply a tag to them, then I have to make a new email. Drip has this great feature where when you're sending the email the first time, you can just program all this in to happen automatically. But yeah, that is all 5 emails. Thanks again so much for having me.